Hello, I'm Jeremy, and welcome to another episode of Jeremy U's RevUs, where mistreated movies get a second chance. Today, we'll be revisiting Problem Child and talking about its awesome sequel, Problem Child 2. Problem Child is an absolutely fantastic film. It's an enjoyably mean-spirited satire of family films with explosive comedy, great acting, and of course, one of the best bad kid characters in the form of Junior Healy. In fact, I actually reviewed this film in a previous video. That's how much I liked it. However, while a lot of comedy sequels tend to be really mediocre, either blatantly repeating iconic jokes from the original or just straight up missing the point of the original, Problem Child 2 is a major exception. It's a very interesting sequel that's just as good, if not better, than the excellent original. How could a comedy sequel achieve such a feat? Well, let's find out. This is Problem Child 2. And before I start, for those wondering, no, I haven't seen Problem Child 3, Junior in Love, and I doubt I'll ever review it.
Just a kid now, but soon you'll be a king of hearts. Oh, yeah. That girl next door might turn into a work of art.
Problem Child 2 picks up right after the original film, with Ben and Junior moving to Mortville, Oregon in order to start over. Before they get to their new house, Junior meets a girl named Trixie Young, played by Ivy Ann Schwan, who's just as much of a problem child as Junior is, and they start a bit of a rivalry. Meanwhile, Luanda Dumore, the richest lady in Mortville, takes a liking to Ben, but unfortunately for her, Ben falls in love with Trixie's mother, school nurse Annie Young, played by Amy Yazbek, who also played Ben's previous wife Flo in the first movie. A very clever bit of casting. At first, Junior and Trixie don't want them to be together, but they soon join forces to help them get together in order to get Luanda away. And things get even more complicated when Big Ben comes to live with Ben and Junior after a bad investment, and Junior gets into a conflict with Igor Peabody, once again played by the late Gilbert Gottfried, who's the principal of the school. Problem Child 2 does everything a good sequel should do. It evolves the story while still keeping the core elements that make the original work. A lot of sequels basically just take the core elements of the original movie, switch some things around, and go, new movie. But Problem Child 2 actually manages to make a new story with these characters while still feeling like a natural continuation of the first movie. Speaking of which, the characters are absolutely fantastic. Junior and Ben Healy are both still great characters. I especially like how their relationship has grown since the first movie, with both of them forming more of a father and son bond, and Junior's rebelliousness contrasting perfectly off Ben's straight-lacedness, helped by fantastic performances from John Ritter and Michael Oliver. They're very work really well together and separately, managing to fit into this new story insanely well. Ben manages to retain the traits he had from the first movie without feeling Flanderized, and John Ritter, rest in peace, still does great as the character, giving him a likable, affable vibe, and Junior manages to show a lot of growth, genuinely caring about Ben while still being his mischievous self, while Michael Oliver continues to be phenomenal as the little monster. All in all, both Ben and Junior manage to still be awesome characters and fit very well into this new story, while still retaining their awesome attributes. Next, we have the new problem child, Trixie. Trixie is a really good counterpart to Junior. Ivy Schwan does a good, solid job in the role, capturing the same anarchic menace as Junior while still being her own character. She's less complex than Junior, but she's still an enjoyable character in her own right, and I like the arc she goes through regarding her relationship with Junior. When they first meet, they stir up a rivalry through their mischief, as well as not wanting their parents to marry. But over time, they grow closer together and join forces to help Ben and Annie get together. It's something groundbreaking, but it's a pretty solid relationship that makes the film stand out from the original. Overall, Trixie is a pretty solid character that makes a great foil and partner in crime for Junior. Vivian Schwan does a great job in the role, and the character has some really entertaining moments. A great character to go with a great movie. Next, there's her mom, Annie. By far my favorite part about her is the fact that she's played by the same woman who played Flo in the first movie, Amy Yazbek. For those who need a refresher, Flo used to be Ben's wife and was basically a B-word that stepped all over him and cared more about status than anything else. But Annie's pretty much the exact opposite. She's very kind and caring, and her chemistry with Ben is legit really good. You really want to see them get together in the end, and it's amazing how Amy Yazbek manages to capture being kind and caring just as well as she managed to capture being a stuck-up narcissist in the first movie. And it's cool how her relationship with Trixie parallels Ben's relationship with Junior without feeling like it's a carbon copy. Overall, Trixie and Annie are both really great characters that contrast off Ben and Junior well. They're nothing amazing, but they're very fun, likable, and work well with the movie. Great characters all around. Next, there's Igor Peabody and Big Ben. These two were great characters from the original, and they work fantastically here. I like how Igor is the principal of the school that Junior just so happens to go to, really adding to the comedy, and Gilbert Gottfried is still awesome in the role. I get how some people hated the late Gilbert Gottfried, but I always felt that he had a fun and charming charisma that he could always bring to a film role. And in Problem Child 2, he does the same. Gottfried gives the same energy and passion he gave to the role of Igor Peabody in the first movie. And seeing him exasperated having to still deal with Junior is comedy gold. As for Big Ben, he's still a pretty fun character that interacts with the other characters well, has some solid lines, and is played great by Jack Warden. Igor and Big Ben are both really solid characters that really work well with the film, as well as being good callbacks to the first movie. Absolutely fantastic characters. Rounding out the characters, we have LaWanda Dumour. She's okay. To be honest, I actually forgot what she was like and actually had to rewatch a clip of the movie to jog my memory. LaWanda is the kind of character who functions well in the context of the movie, but doesn't really do anything more than that. She's an alright villain, but there just isn't a lot to her that makes her a really great character. Perfectly solid, but nothing more. Moving on to the humor. Problem Child 2 is just as funny as its predecessor. Like Airplane 2, Problem Child manages to capture what made the original film's humor work, without feeling like they're repeating old jokes. Not only are there incredibly funny lines and great performances that enhance the comedy, but PC2 also retains the enjoyable mean-spiritedness of its predecessor. Junior's pranks are the perfect blend of hilarious and chaotic, and seeing him join forces with Trixie is legit cool. Overall, the comedy of Problem Child 2 is just as funny as the first, and has some legit fantastic moments. Great comedy for a great sequel. Finally, let's talk about how Problem Child 2 functions as a sequel. It functions amazingly. The problem with a lot of sequels is that they either feel forced or miss the point of the original, neither of which Problem Child 2 does. It not only continues the story of the original in an effective way, but it perfectly captures the spirit of the original while still feeling like its own thing. This is what makes sequels like this, Airplane 2, and Police Academy 2 work so well, managing to be both incredibly fun and incredibly faithful. Really great stuff. In conclusion, Problem Child 2 is a fantastic sequel to a great classic. The characters are just as great as they were in the first movie, the comedy's hilarious, the first movie's mean-spirited nature is captured perfectly, and it's just an all-around fun movie. If you're a fan of the first one, this movie will 100% satisfy you. And if you haven't seen the first movie, it's still a pretty entertaining watch. It is insanely hard to make a great comedy sequel. So I really appreciate when a comedy sequel lives up to its amazing original. And this one definitely does. A great sequel to an absolute classic, and rest in peace, John Ritter and Gilbert Gottfried. Your memories will live on in our hearts. That's all for now. Join me next time when things get a little spooky, as I talk about Stephen King's Langoliers miniseries. See you then.